Good morning and welcome to Manifestation Mondays with River City Home Buyers. I'm excited to dig into this one. I'm going to try to keep it short today. So the theme of this week's session is, does your mission and vision align with the way you interact with clients on transactions? I'll ask it again. Your mission and vision, do they align with how you communicate and how you conduct transactions with clients? So the reason this came up is this year at the end of 2023, I sat down and wrote a clear mission statement and vision for my company. And within that mission statement, doing business with integrity and being a solutions-minded person, which will bring an end result of a growth in trust, relationships, business reputation, business, and of course, revenue. And so this week, I went out to meet with a homeowner. And when I had spoken with her via text and phone call, she said that she had a home she needed to sell because her job situation was a little shaky. And I finally, after a few communications back and forth, got to set up a time to go meet with her. And when I went out to the property, as I was going out to the property, I will admit that I had a little bit of a predetermined mindset that this was probably either going to be, if she wanted to sell with cash, which it sounded like she did, I was kind of expecting to either find this moldy hoarder house type situation, or, a house in very bad disrepair, or if it wasn't, I was going to probably run into something where she thought she had a unicorn and wanted full retail value for it the way it was. And interestingly enough, or that she would be kind of like stuck in, adamant and stuck in this is worth this much and da-da-da. Surprisingly, it was none of those three situations. And as I pulled up, I could already tell from the outside that if the inside matched the outside, this was a well-kept property. The lady was very, very nice. She was very, very honest. She pointed out like these minor, tiny little things that she just wanted me to be aware of. And we walked around, and all of the heavy hitting stuff was freshly replaced within the last 7 to 10 years. The AC being the oldest, about 10 years old. Electric was good. Plumbing had already been redone. She had it redone in 2017. The roof was redone. Everything was done. And it was kept very clean. There were some outdated items, cosmetically speaking, a handful, really literally a handful. And so we sat down and I had her tell me her story. So this is how I do this regardless. I'm not coming in telling you my story. I'm not walking through the door with an agenda. As soon as I came through the door, I shifted my mindset out of the, okay, this isn't a rundown place. Okay, let me reconsider, right? And when she sat down with me, she told me that she had met with 2 other potential buyers and that the first one really turned her off and freaked her out. And in her demeanor, her language, her body language, the things she was saying, you could tell that she was a very cautious, kind of worrying, not super trusting, but not crazy, right? Just very cautious. She's a single lady. She's, just being careful. And the first person that came out had talked to her on the phone about a price, and immediately upon entering her home, she said the first thing out of their mouth at the front door was, oh, just so you know, there's no way we can give you whatever the amount was. And she thought, well, that's funny. You haven't even come in the house yet. So basically, they were already baiting and switching her, because over the phone, they said, yes, that's not a problem, shouldn't be a problem. Then they come out, and before even entering the house, it's going to be a problem. And I guess they did that with the mindset that if that was her absolute drop dead price, that they were just going to turn around, get in the car and leave. Which is kind of funny, because the price that she was at, if they knew how to have a multiple exit strategy, even on a rehab, they easily could have purchased it at that price and done just fine. This was a typical example in my mind of people that are given a script and they're kind of locked into a little bit of a tunnel vision, because this was not a house that you were just going to completely gut and start over. You'd be ridiculous to do that. So they didn't have either the training, the skill set, or the mindset, or didn't want to take the time to maybe shift their mindset for a few minutes and think a little bit differently as they walk through the property. And if they had, the result may have been different. And she did, talk to them for a bit, and they did come in, but they were very, very aggressive with a very pit bull type of approach. And it turned her off. It drew her back. And I really feel like if they had been watching the body language and kind of picking up on some things, and maybe just listening to what her fears and concerns were, as well as what she wanted, it could have gone a long way. The second person actually made her very comfortable, was very, very nice. And she really, really liked that person and was strongly considering doing business with them. And they were kind of going back and forth a little bit in the negotiation stage. But I think in that situation, they went to sending a contract prematurely. And some of the language, even though this was a simple 2-page contract, which I understand why people that, are going to wholesale a deal, or even potentially maybe even flip a deal. I've never done it, but as far as the contract this way, but I do know that there are people that use the simplified contract because, a Florida contract can be overwhelming in its language and the fact that it's 12 or 13 pages long. And so sometimes, depending on who the client is, I understand why, a shortened, simple, just that has all the necessary components to make it legal and binding is, a fair way to go. However, there were still terms in that short contract that she felt very uncertain about and uneasy about. And she was not to the point yet where she was ready to question those terms, although had she continued, she probably would have. And so we talked a little bit, and I told her that, hey, that person is actually a really great person, and da-da-da, and, I understand you have some concerns, maybe ask for some clarification, and, if you decide to continue in that direction. And so as we spoke, I was less concerned with how much money I could make on a property like this and doing this with her, as I was trying to find and lay out in front of her all of her choices so that she did have a very clear understanding of her situation and make an informed decision. My first take was to offer to list it as an as-is and just price it slightly under market value, because the condition of the home certainly supported that. And I think that a retail buyer would have grabbed that very quickly. But that didn't meet with her needs. She did not want to have to go through all that negotiating. She didn't want to have to go through all the inspections and agents bringing all kinds of people in and out of her house, and then the appraisal process later, just all of it. It was too much of a hassle, and she really just wanted a cash sale. And that's where typically in a situation like this, a lot of times it goes south, because this is normally where the seller tends to be a little unrealistic in their price expectation. However, she wasn't. She was more than fair in what she wanted. But I also knew in listening to her talk that me trying to just boom, slam, close it right there was not the right approach. It was not going to make her understand that she can trust me, that I am 100% legitimate with my business, and that if I promise you something, it's going to happen. So I came up with a solution that would make it much more comfortable for her. And that involved nothing in writing at that particular second with me sitting in front of her. But I told her, as a licensed realtor, what I can do for her without that written paper, and that this, I will do this, and this will happen for you within the next 48 hours, at which point, if you're comfortable and you're happy, we can move forward. And so she very much liked that idea. It made her feel very much in control. And I think really her big fear in all of it was that she was losing control of how much she would receive at the end, how long she'd be able to, in either of the other two situations, she felt very uneasy about how much she would end up with net. Also, how long she would have to move. And then if she had to stay beyond closing, what that would look like. And so there was all of that on the table. And I was able to put her at ease with all of those and a couple of other kind of smaller issues. And actually that afternoon, shortly after meeting with her, I had all of the, all of the agreement ready. And my lender did not have any money to lend at the time. So I had already discussed with her that I could represent her or represent the buyer, either or, in a realtor capacity if another investor decided to take it, and that I would only deal with investor friends of mine that I can 100% vouch for the legitimacy, and also vouch for the fact that the second that paper is signed, it 100% will close with the terms existing and with no amendments, no addendums, and no changes. And so that evening I called her back and I said, hey, I have great news. This is what I have for you, and it includes this and this and this and this and this that we discussed. And she immediately said, well, can I get it in writing? And I thought, wow, okay, sure, I'm happy to put it in writing. The only reason I was hesitant was because I didn't know if you felt ready to go to that step. And she signed, and I actually brought the person that I'm representing out to meet her the next evening. And they didn't stay very long, just long enough to meet her and tell her that there was nothing to worry about, that everything was great, that they look forward to helping her. That, if she needed our help, moving or, whatever else that we could do for her. And she had been looking at some rentals recently, but she was scared before this to move forward, to commit to any of them that she really liked, because she was worried that if she signed a lease and then couldn't work something out with the house, that she could potentially end up, either legally responsible for a lease or having to pay more than she could afford, all of that. So the point here is this. I think that sometimes in this business, people get very caught up in the end result. And I really feel that the first person that went there to speak to her while she was telling them her fears and her worries and her concerns, they weren't truly listening with intention. Their mind was already spinning about what they could do and how much they could make. And and with that, they didn't even really look outside of their normal little one way of doing that either. And it cost them her trust. It cost them, any chance of her moving forward. And quite frankly, it cost them a deal with probably more meat on the bone than I've seen in a very long time. And so just make sure that you go back to your mission and your vision. And even if your mission and vision is to grow your business, grow your bank account, grow your personal wealth, and those are certainly very important components. But within that vision and mission, make sure that when it's out here and you're on the actual action piece of that, working with the clients, working with the vendors, working with the colleagues, that your transactional interactions reflect that mission and vision. Because I think for a lot of people, there's a big disconnect there. I think if I went back and read the mission and vision statement of that first company, it probably didn't reflect in how they made her feel and how they kind of shot themselves in the foot. If I go and read the mission and vision of the individual that I am representing in this, that I brought the property to, it would very much align. It would very much align, because they were equally concerned with her needs, her fears, and what she needed and wanted, just as much as what they could gain on the back end of the deal. So, super important message today. Make sure that your action, when you're out here in action, you're taking action, the action piece, the doing, right? This is the work. When you're out here doing the work to bring that end result, make sure that that work is driven by who you are as a business and a person, and that it's driven by your true mission in life and in business and the vision that you have for yourself and your company. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. I really hope this was helpful. Please comment, please engage in some dialogue, and let's share this, and let's just be great. Have an awesome week. Thanks for tuning in.